land area to the newly formed United States. The government decided to put Fort Dearborn here in Chicago as the westernmost fort at that point to protect us from the wilderness and beyond. I am going to show you where Fort Dearborn used to be later on in the trip. At any rate, after Fort Dearborn was completed, people started moving in. We became a town in 1833 with a whopping population of 350 people. Became a city in 1837 with just over 3,000 people. Today, there's about 2.8 million people in Chicago and about 9.8 million people if you count the surrounding suburbs. So that's where we are population-wise these days. First two buildings I would like to show everyone tonight are going to be up ahead of us and off to the left. Oh, they shut off the lights on my focal point. They're killing me. They're killing me, Smalls. They're killing me. All right. So how we're going to have to try to do this? I'll do it backwards. Up ahead, off to the left, and you're in the back of the boat. You probably can't see it quite right now. There's a tall white building that has pink lights at the very top. That is the 83-story Aon Center, built in 1973 by Edward Drell Stone. Aon is Chicago's third tallest building at 1,136 feet. Originally, Aon was the world's tallest marble-clad building. No longer was it because it's no longer covered in marble. They discovered after its completion the beautiful white Carrara marble they originally faced that building with was buckling and cracking because of Chicago's harsh winters. They took all the marble off and replaced it with granite from North Carolina. The whole process cost them $80 million. Big whoops on that one. So if you look kind of basically closer to us, next door to the Aon Center, there's a tall building that has white, undulating, curvy balconies coming off of each floor. That's the building, built in 1969 by Bruce Graham of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. It is Chicago's fourth tallest building at 1,127 feet. So Hancock has 100 stories. They have an observation deck on the 94th. You can spend your money and go up there and look at stuff if you like, or they have a bar and restaurant on the 95th and 96th floors called the Signature Room. For about the price of that observation deck ticket, you can go up to the Signature Room, get yourself a drink, see all the same stuff, and not be thirsty. However you want to do it, though, is fine by me. Building that says Fidelity Investments on the bottom corner. That sits on the site of where Jean-Baptiste Dusable had his fur trading post in the 1770s. Dusable was Chicago's first permanent non-Native American resident. He was from Haiti. So the open area next door is called Pioneer Court in Dusable's honor. Rising above Pioneer Court, the gorgeous Gothic Tribune Tower. Tribune Tower was built in 1925 as the result of an international design competition held by the Tribune in 1922. To celebrate their 75th anniversary, they wanted to build the most beautiful office building in the world. That winning design was picked from 263 entries they received. Hood and Howell. Back on the opposite side is about the height of the rounded Marina City Towers, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the third setback is about the height of the former IBM building, which is the black glass and steel building coming up next door to Trump on the right. Give you an idea of the difference between those two. The former IBM building is 52 stories tall, whereas Trump is topped off at 96 stories. That gives Trump Tower a full height of 1,362 feet, making it Chicago's second tallest building. As I was saying, next door to Trump is the former IBM building. I keep using the word former because the IBM Corporation originally occupied it. They did that a few years ago. Don't let the simple design of that building fool you. It's very important architecturally speaking, because in 1971 it was the last American building designed by a famous German architect named Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Mies van der Rohe was head of the Bauhaus over in Germany. He had to flee here to the United States. When he got here, he became head of the Illinois Institute of Technology. Basically, Mies has been voted as America's fourth most environmentally friendly city. So even though Mayor Daley is not in office anymore, he really did a lot to help Chicago become more green. And that'll bring us into the gigantic Merchandise Mart. Merchandise Mart was built in 1930 by Graham, Anderson, Probst, and White to consolidate all of Marshall Field's warehouses. Up until that point, Marshall Field and Company had 13 warehouses scattered around town and thought, well, this is kind of silly. Why don't we build one big building and put everything in there? This is the largest building in the world until they built the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. There's 4.2 million square feet of floor space, sits on just over an acre of land, so big up until 2 years ago that one building had its own zip code, 60654. The giant heads you might have noticed in the front that face inward toward the building, David Letterman once referred to them as giant heads. That's where they're not. My hometown, Wisconsin. I like cheese, it's alright. Let's part of the river as we get into it. You'll see it makes a Y shape, like the letter Y. Something you can do that doesn't cost any money when you're walking around town. You can look for Y shapes, insert it into different insignias, logos, even some of the bridge work will use it. People use that Y shape in their signage to represent this river and how important it is to Chicago. Biggest example I can think of to start you off with is on State Street. The Chicago Theater marquee has a Y in its background, so you can start there and move your way outwards. We're going to go underneath the Lake Street Bridge next. Lake and Wells are the two double-deck bridges in the city that carry elevated or L trains up on Catholic. Put all that together at that point in history in Chicago, she's the perfect scapegoat. So even after that columnist retracted his story and said, hey, sorry, I made it all up, it didn't matter. That story took on a life of its own, and poor Mrs. O'Leary, she died penniless and ostracized from society, which was terrible.